In this video I'll be showing you how to sew 3 different types of dart. The first is a single dart. So if you use some small scissors to make notches at the end of the dart, and then use a pin to mark where the point of the dart is. Then fold the calico in half, match the notches up and pin in place. Then to check it's lined up correctly, you can take another pin. If you go through the line on one side, it should be in the same place on the other side. So once that's done, you can take the pin out and then just use that pin to hold it in place. When sewing it, I'm going to start from the end of the dart and sew towards the point. So take your pins out as you go so you don't sew over them. If this was a fine fabric like silk, I wouldn't backstitch at the end of it, I'd tie it in a knot, so I'll show you that on this one. So don't backstitch at the end. Take it out, snip the threads, but leave them long enough so that you can tie a knot in them. And then you just tie a double knot and that will secure it and you can snip off the ends of it. On a fabric such as cotton or calico, you can do a backstitch, it's absolutely fine. This is just for when you're making something out of a sheer fabric or something that's quite fine. When pressing a dart, you want to remember that you're creating a 3D shape with the fabric, so don't just put the iron straight down flat on top of the line that you've just stitched. Instead, press around the line so that you still have a 3D shape at the end of pressing. A single dart is commonly used to take away the excess fabric around the curve of the bust. Next is a double dart. There's 4 points to this one. So use a pin to mark the top of the dart, another pin to mark the bottom of it, and then if you stick a pin from one side to the point on the other side so that they sit exactly on top of each other, and then fold it again using the pins as a guide. I'm going to backstitch at the top and the bottom of this dart. So just sew along the line, taking your pins out as you go. When you get to the middle of the dart, use the knee lift so that you can pivot the fabric around and just carry on a straight line down to the end. Again, when pressing, take care not to flatten your dart. Press the dart towards one side and make sure there's no creases in the surrounding fabric. And you use a double dart to fit to the curves of the body, such as from underneath the bust towards the hip. The last dart is a curved dart. I've trimmed off the excess fabric and I'm snipping the notches. So match those up exactly on top of each other and pin in place. Then make a notch at the end of each of the dart lines. Match those up. It looks as though one side of the fabric is larger than the other, but they're actually the same size just because it's on a curve. So once you move it down so they're sitting on top of each other, you can pin them in place and you'll see that they do fit along the same line. And the same for the other end of the dart. Then sew along the line, taking out the pins as you go. I'm going to backstitch at the top and at the point of the dart. Then you're going to press the curved dart that you've just made, pressing the dart over to one side, and again being careful not to flatten the whole piece of fabric that you've just stitched. These sorts of darts can be used the same way as a bust dart can, but just to give it a different shape depending on the garment that you're making.